Hi, hello.
Yeah.
Well, you took on a whole role here. You pretty much worked on all the episodes as a composer in this documentary, Secret of Whales.
Yes, I did.
So
It was not planned like that at the beginning, so I'm really grateful.
that's awesome. Now, I'm super curious to know. You've worked in other, films where it's, they have dialogue, they have like the subjects. It's a total different. But now we're talking about creatures and beautiful whales. Was it easier?
Um, it was definitely different. I think it was like, it's already different, to score for a documentary or fiction. But this particular case was even more different because there are so many, dramatic moments in this show. And you would think, oh, these are, animals. It's going to be hard for me to relate, to just feel, because that's how it works really. When you write music, you are inspired. Like the more you can relate to what's going on, the more you're inspired. At least that's what's going on for me. And so I was like, so maybe I'm going to have to really think how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to approach the scoring. And actually what happened, it was I related to their stories, like these animal stories, much more than expected. And I think it made it just both easier and more difficult emotionally to connect with the show, because it was there's so much going on, and so much that you could tell they are really similar to us. Like they're like us. They mourn. They have like feeding strategies that differ from a place to another. They care about identity, and so all this stuff really, when you don't know much about whales, you're not aware of that, and it really strikes you. So it was. It was both very inspiring because of the beauty of the images, but also because I could relate much more than I thought I would.
I agree. And talk about that scene where you have the orca, bringing her child that's dead, but not leaving it behind. I mean, I actually got teary eyed and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so sad. So for you, how was it for you to use that scene and then you're
Yeah, that's actually a great question, because I think it was one of the scenes that were, you know, equally very difficult and very easy to score, because this mother that just doesn't let go because she's too sad. It's a devastating, spectacle, and it's also another example of how, complex their emotional lives are and how similar they are to us. And I, back then when I scored it, it was the very first episode, so it was really early last year. And I was a new mother myself. So I felt really, we talk about, being, relate to the animals. Like this time I was really like, this is too much. And it was both very difficult emotionally, but also incredibly inspiring to see this. And I feel like just this scene represents how similar we are, with these animals, and how important it is to point it out so the people understand that we're all sharing the same rock that is the earth, and that we should protect it.
Yes. Oh, well, congratulations on being a mom. So it sounds like the timing was just so perfect. I mean, in this case, I got to learn a lot about the whales from watching. I mean, they have so many similarities, like you say, very family oriented.
Very much, yeah.
Very richly family oriented that maybe a lot of us should learn from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really hope and believe that the fact that we can relate so much is like, it's gonna speak to so many people, much more than, with any other documentary. And what I really loved about this one is that not only it focuses on how, the similarities with the human, with human beings, but also it's not all about the really sad negative aspects of what's going on with the environment, these days, it's very actually uplifting, and it's a very like positive, mostly positive notes on how incredibly smart and and yeah, incredibly smart these insensitive, these animals are. And I think, to me, is the best way to speak to an audience, to make them aware, to be more aware about the environment, and be willing to protect it. And I think this is not something you see a lot in wild documentaries. This combination of like focusing on the beautiful, the uplifting sometimes, and the family, like the fact that they're so attached to the value of identity and families. I think it's new, and I think it's wonderful, and it's going to reach a lot of people thanks to that.
Mm-hmm. And talking a little more about this documentary, so for those that will be watching, it does kind of bounce between regions of where these whales are. Mm-hmm. So how did that help you or facilitate in any way what tone to go with based on the region?
So strangely enough, my creative choices were never really about the geographic, like the location. I actually tried, because I wanted the entire show, I worked on one episode at a time. So it was difficult to have like the big picture with the 4 episodes. So I really wanted my music to stay consistent. And for that, I preferred to focus on the emotions, of particular scenes. So for example, if you have like one big family touching moment, I'm going to use this kind of instrumentations, or I'm going to reuse this theme that I used in Orca episode to just make it more, to connect, everything together. So and also because there are so many different locations, I really didn't want it to be too tight to the music choices, because I wanted to be really consistent more than it was like, oh, obviously we're moving to, Jamaica, so it's going to be more exotic or instruments or whatever. I just wanted to be consistent. That was my goal.
It definitely did flow, I have to say.
Oh, thank you. That's great. Good to hear.
Thank you so much for your time. And just to finalize really quick, your genre in this case is classical. So what's one of your all-time favorite classic artists?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. I think in the classical field, that would be definitely the post-romantic era, all the Russian composers from the late Romantic era. And I think it's actually, it's very interesting, because when you listen to the music of those composers, like, Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky, it's very cinematic. And these guys were the first ones to really use this like dramatism in the music, romanticism, and that what makes the cinematic music today for film scores. And so that was, I think, the first sign that it was my thing. And apart from that, of course, any composers moving from classical and jazz, polymath like Gershwin, Bernstein, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations in this project.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Take care.